So you had a property in Park Ridge you were looking at. I know you sent me one the week before. Maybe I had them confused because one of them I responded to. But anyway, the issue with these sorts of areas, and just for everybody else, I'll just give you an idea. Park Ridge is in Logan, which is, I'm just going to bring it up on the map. And actually I'll bring it up on Stash map just to give people an idea. So it's a massive growth suburb, heaps of people moving in. There's really good development opportunities out there. But there's a bit of a dilemma with doing some of these properties because what's happened is landowners have seen all this development and they've gotten greedy and they all think their property's worth so much more than what it is. And unfortunately, the one you've sent me, it's not feasible at that price. So I know a developer that I actually worked with. He was another engineer. He did some developments out in Logan, still doing developments out there, did really well, but he was very particular where he bought. So if you're doing small developments, you need to still focus on built up areas. And by built up, I mean where development exists all around and there's only, some bigger blocks. Park Ridge itself as an area has got some pretty big developers in there. So I'm looking in Park Ridge to do, 300 lots. I looked at a site that was, I think, 500 lots in there. So just be mindful, I'm doing 500 lots, you're looking at 9. I've got like the sausage or, me or other people, we got the sausage factory. We can pump out lots at a lot cheaper, much cheaper than what you can do 9 for. The only way you're going to have an advantage with doing a smaller subdivision is if you've already got the road, the services all connected, and literally all you have to do is come in, chop up the blocks, do a little bit of, roadworks or whatever. That's going to be the only advantage over, somebody who's doing 500. Because when you do 500, you'll need like an intersection upgrade, you'll need to upgrade the sewer main, the water main, and all that stuff. So 9 also sits in that funny spot where you're into commercial lending. So you're above that 3 or 4 resi space, and now you're into commercial lending, which as Graham, discovered, and I've mentioned before, once you start getting into commercial, you're at 9-10% interest rate.
Yeah.
Unless you're a banking client. And when you're through the banks are a real pain in the butt at the moment with getting commercial finance. So look, just for everybody else's knowledge, I'm just going to share the screen. And then have you done a feasibility on, like a full feasibility on this property?
No, I was just going through the course and I just did this one as practice doing the first few modules.
Okay, all right. So Park Ridge, like I explained, so it's in Logan, it's about 40 minutes south of Brisbane. So there's Brisbane up here, Brisbane City. So you're in there, Gold Coast down to the south. So you're sort of about, halfway to Gold Coast, something like that. So this whole area, it's in transition. It's got some major developers out there, heaps of stuff going on. So I'm just going to give you an example where, a smaller development could work in the area. So you've got this surrounding area, which is built up. So Crestmead. So what I mean by built up is it's already developed. And then you've got a little bit over there. So you can kind of see from the map. So look, the guy I know that did smaller developments out here was doing stuff that he really just had to split up and all the services were available just because the price of the blocks. He was doing it before the market went up. So he was selling blocks at like 250,000. So he had to be really astute with what he was doing because, my rule of thumb is about 300,000 as a bare minimum. So your price point's at 300,000 out here, but you can see there's big properties and then you get, a development like this, that's probably 300 lots in there. And then you've got, this here, and it's a bit fragmented because of the properties, and this is all the stuff that's built up. So if you did want to do a development in this region or close to Park Ridge, you need to pick something that is going to be a bit bigger. So, sorry, bigger, but within this built up area. So, this has all been developed. So there may not be a block available here. So what I would probably do is go to the zoning. So you got low density residential, and then jump on. So I'm in Stash, by the way. Are you using this? Yes.
Yes.
Yep, you're using it?
Yeah, I've started using it. I joined the course like 1 week ago. So
Oh, okay.
just getting the hang of it.
All right. It's still early days.
Yes.
Make sure you do your goal setting. Stage 1.
Yeah.
Or stage 0, intro. And work out your strategy. I know, when you're starting, you're kind of going to put your feelers out to see what you might do or may not, but just sort of get a bit of a rough guide. So look, let's do, what did I say? Low density residential. So low density or low medium residential, something like that. And I know minimum lot size like 400 square meters. So let's just say, let's go 1,000. I'm just, let's see if anything actually comes up. Actually, it'll be all the big stuff. I don't want Park Ridge. I want the one next to it. So I want Heritage Park. And how big? So you haven't got to finance part yet. So let's just go. How big was that block that you sent me? This is it here.
It was 5,000 meters square.
Okay, so 5,000. So let's just do up to 5,000. And there doesn't look like there's anything. So Heritage Park is all built up. So let's see if there's anything in Park Ridge. Because you've got Park Ridge South as well, keep in mind. Nah. Is this one in Park Ridge South? Or is it emerging community?
This one is in Park Ridge.
It must be emerging community zoning. Oops. Yeah, I reckon that it probably is. The issue with emerging community is a lot of the times services aren't connected.
Yeah.
Let's try Park Ridge. So what I'm trying to look for is properties that may suit the criteria. So there's nothing in, I need to select the zone. Let's just go all of them. Let's just see if we can actually find some. I've overloaded it. Doing its thing. So there you go. There's a few that have come up. So look, here's probably whether or not that property is there for a reason. So here's potentially a good example, maybe. I just want the map. No, that's no good because it's covered in trees. There's a reason why that property is not developed. The trees will be protected. But look, you've got a big block of land here. So with this one, yeah, look, see the developer still owns it by the looks of that. So you're a little bit constrained in these emerging areas. And like I said, you're competing with big developers. So, there could be a reason why these properties are left undeveloped. But look, one of my clients just bought a property in a built up area similar to this, and he's going to split off 4 blocks and make like $500,000. So literally, he's got an area like this is actually over in the Redlands Bay region, which is to the east of Brisbane. And literally some guy 20 years ago or 10 years ago bought a block of land, built a big house across a big block like this. He found out about it, bought the house for like $1 million. They're selling the blocks of land for like, I don't know, $600,000-700,000 each. So look, they're kind of your options. So this one's being bought by potentially a developer. They might be doing some other commercial use there, but your options are, as I see it, they're the potential, but you can't be paying 1.6 million for this property. So this is what these guys want, 1.6 to 1.7. So you can't be paying that that sort of money. Reason being is your end sales. I agree with this. I agree it's about 2.7 in end sales. So once you do your quick fees, I'll just show you where it is in the program. So you may not be up to stage 2 yet, but it's in stage 2A, which is this one, site analysis. So resources, and then 2.2 quick FISO. So you got 9, and this one's come from an agent, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was on realestate.com.
Yeah, okay. So there's an example I used in the program, and it's on the north side of Brisbane, so in Caboolture. I used soft costs. Are you up to this stage yet or no?
I went through the course like a few days ago, that module.
Oh, you went through the whole thing in a week. Are you at the end?
I'm at the last, except the last 2 modules. I've done most of them.
Wow. Okay. Has anyone beat that? I think you could be the fastest. I got to start adding more content to it. You're not supposed to get through it that quick. All right. So you've done this section, but you haven't done the exercises, because if you did, you would have sent me this feasibility. So look, your soft costs are probably going to be 140. They might be a little bit less, but you know, I do know this area reasonably well. I reckon your hard costs are probably going to be, if you've only got a battle axe driveway, you know, they might be a bit cheaper. They might only be 50, so 450,000. Your end sales are going to be 300 ish. So, and your site purchase was 1.7 or 1.6. You said 1.617. So it's not going to be good.
Okay.
So look, it doesn't make money just on that basis. And, you know, these might be a little bit out. I'm just speculating, but I don't think they're going to be that far out to turn -14 into +20. So that means that this property, you need to be buying it at, what, like 700,000? There you go. You need to be buying it at about 700,000, $1 million less than what they're asking. So chances are they're not going to be selling it for $1 million less.
Yeah.
But that's what it's worth as a development site. And what you'll find, or if you do want to focus on this area, you know, being Logan, what you then need to look for is, hey, where can I do this development and be able to buy the property for 700,000? Because there's plenty of big properties in Logan that you can buy for 700,000-800,000 and get 9 blocks out of them.
Okay.
They're just not going to be in Park Ridge.
Okay.
I've looked at lots of stuff in Park Ridge over the years. Every single site that somebody brought to me, it's all too expensive. I had a site someone brought to me, they told me it was going to be 20 million or 22 million, ended up being 30 something million. And it was just, it made like, I don't know, it's like 20% margin. There's like 300 or 400 lots, and it was rubbish. Anyway, I've never seen a site in Park Ridge that's actually made a decent amount of return. So I think have a quick look, but I really don't think you're going to pick up anything for 700,000. Owners' expectations are just too high, because it's been plugged as the growth area. But what I would do is look at the surrounding pockets, and you've got, you know, I just looked at Heritage Park. It didn't look like there was anything in there. You got Regents Park. Crestmead, I'd probably stay away from. Crestmead, Marsden, I do know these areas. They're no good. Waterford West is okay. It really just comes down to what you can buy, you know, cost per block. So go back, you know, do that detailed feasibility, and just make sure these numbers that I've used are right. Make sure I'm not low or high, and work out. So you've got to pay basically 80,000 a block maximum. So if you're looking at a site and you can only get 4 blocks out of it, that's, only 300,000. So, it sounds ridiculous, but the reality is you've got quite a few costs. You've got $170,000 worth of cost to actually develop the property. So that's why, rule of thumb as a bare minimum needs to be 300,000 end sale price. Because you still got to buy the land. If somebody gives you the land for free, it's still going to cost you 170,000 just to do the development.
Okay.
So just do that. There's areas that'll work. You just got to sort of seek them out. But just be careful of oversupply in Logan. Make sure you've got a unique product, or you're in a built-up area, like I said, because you don't want to be competing with people like me, where I've got a big marketing budget and I've got, display homes and all that other stuff. You're not going to have that if you're doing 9 lots. You won't have the budget for it.
Yeah. So actually, it's not a very good idea to be in the locations where large developments are happening.
No, only if you can pick up a site that has all the services connected to it.
Okay.
And it's just really easy. But honestly, all you guys, if you're doing smaller stuff, that's what you should be looking for anyway. Like just super easy stuff where you literally don't have to build much at all. And you just connect services and then away you go. But you just got to be mindful that a bigger developer can oversupply the market. They can fire sell products. And if you've got no advantage in terms of, if you don't have a nice aspect or you don't have a special feature, you're going to be put in the same category. I'll give you an example. If a big developer just wants to upload stock and they decide to drop their price by 50 grand, all the buyers, they're not going to buy your property for 50 grand more. They're going to buy, something else that's 50 grand less.
Yeah.
And if you've got, not many developers will do that, but just in case. So just be careful of those areas. That's why I said stick to, have a quick look in there, see whether you can make anything work, but don't spend much time on it. I think you're better off to stick to, these other areas, Heritage Park, Regent's Park, Baronia, Forestdale. I know Heathwood's good, but I don't know how many blocks are left in Heathwood. Parkinson's good, but again, I don't know how many blocks are left. This area is good. Stay away from Crestmead, Marsden, in my experience. There's just some crime and stuff in that area. And then, this area is good. Waterford West, whatever we pronounce that, Waterford, Eden's Landing, those areas are pretty good. So look, there's some good areas around here. I was actually looking at Cornubia to develop a number of years ago, because blocks of land back then were selling for 400 or 450,000. So I just do a search and just see, have a look at what some of these bigger properties have sold for. Click on each of them and just see what have they sold for, and have any of them sold for $1 million or 70, 80,000 a block. See.
Yes, I'm actually looking to start with the finder's fee strategy. So do you think it's a better idea to look for bigger lots and pass it on to developers, or is it easier to pass on like smaller sites?
When you say big, how big?
Like 30, 40 lots.
You're starting to play in a bit of a different space, especially if it's your first one.
Okay.
I'd probably say if you can, stick to maybe a maximum of 20 to 30. Otherwise, things start to get a bit more complicated with infrastructure upgrades and things once you start to go really big.
Okay.
So, if you want to do site finders, I'd say probably, focus around that sort of size, because there's a lot more people in that pool, the 10 to 30 lot pool, versus once you start to sort of get over 30, then you start to deal with bigger players. But look, if you find 100 lot land sub and it makes money, that's a pretty big finder's fee. So I don't want to put you in a box, but I'm just letting you know that, build a network, find out, even like there's the Facebook group of other developers, they're all around Australia. Just put a post on there. Hey, I'm looking to offload sites. What are people looking for? Are you in Brisbane? Are you Brisbane based?
Yes, I'm in Brisbane.
Okay, so if you're just looking in Brisbane, just say, hey, I've got sites available in this area. Who's interested? And just see what people come back with and what they want. Because then you're going to know if you have 10 people that come back to you and they all want different things, then you're going to be a bit scattergun. But if you've got 10 people and 5 of them want one particular property, then you might be onto something. So yeah, start to think about who you're going to offload it to. It's so easy with Facebook now. All those developer groups that are on Facebook. I didn't have that when I was around. I was making phone calls, offloading stuff to people I didn't even know. So it's so easy. You literally put a post online and everyone just comes to you. If the property is good, you'll be able to pass it on. But have a look at the options section as well. Because if you do want to option something up, you can make more money doing that. Keep in mind as well with site finding, and I know you had a question before around the strategy. The people will not pay you to find sites that are on market, and you don't want to be wasting your time with sites that are on market because somebody else could just buy them straight from the market.
Just buy from the agent instead.
Yeah, you could potentially give the deal to somebody, say, hey, this is my finder's fee, and then you pass the deal on, and they could have just called the agent themselves, or somebody else has already bought it.
Okay.
Which will happen if the property's good and it makes money. It's going to be gone quick.
Yeah.
The ones that are on the market, even in a slower market like now. What other questions did you have? Do we need to get contract agreement with the seller and the buyer? Yes, in first instance, an email agreement is fine, but just make sure that you are comfortable with the person, because to try and sue somebody for that money, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And is an email agreement? It's not legally binding, though, right? Like it just.
Sorry, say that again.
So an email agreement or any agreement is not legally binding. It is
technically it is. Yeah, if it's on an email and it's been agreed to, anything in writing is technically binding. I had a mentor who had a binding contract on a napkin.
Okay.
So yeah, if it's been agreed to, an email is legally binding. But what I mean by, if the person decides to, say if your finder's fee is 20,000, if a person decides not to pay you, and I'm just being a realist, not many, I wouldn't think many people would not pay you. If they decide not to pay you, you could sue them, but it would probably cost you 100 grand to sue them.
Okay.
So you'd be spending 100 grand to recover 20. So yeah, look, most people are going to be honest and pay your site finder's fee, and they don't want to be sued. Nobody wants to be sued, but there's just some people out there that obviously don't operate like that. So just be, I suppose, aware that there is that potential risk, and you don't want to be suing somebody. So you want to have a relationship with the person you're going to pass it on. So when you pass on a site, you don't want to be telling them the address. You just want to be giving them general area. This is the property. Send them a snip of the property. Take off the address and send them the feasibility. They'll do their own feasibility once you send them the address, but get the agreement. Hey, site finder's fee is 3% if you buy this property. And can you please confirm via response email? Now, I am going to do another session on site finding because I've had a few questions about it. So I was planning to do that before Christmas, but it might be a session I run in the new year, just with everything going a bit crazy at the moment. So anyway, I better keep moving. Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, just one more. With contracts and agreements, what happens with the buyer side? Like once you find the land, what kind of do you do the same thing, an email agreement, and then with the owner of the land, and then you do the same thing with the seller?
No, so you're thinking about options contracts. Options are a lot more watertight than just a finder's fee, and you can make a lot more money. But there's more risk involved with an option, and there's more effort and you're going to have to put down an option fee.
Okay.
But have a look at the options section again, and just have a look at the example option agreement that's on there. So you put an option down on a property, and then you can pass that option on. You can do an assignment under the option to a new party.
Okay.
So that way you actually have control of the property. And then you've also got the advantage that you can advertise the address everywhere. You can even put an ad on realestate.com if you wanted to. So you can literally advertise the property everywhere that you want, and nobody can gazump you. They can't come and buy the property from underneath you. And you don't have to worry about somebody not paying you finder's fees and suing them and blah, blah, blah. And I know people that have sued people for not paying finder's fees, but they've been big developers and the finder's fees have been substantial. I know one particular person that had to do that with the developer. But yeah, the fee was pretty massive. They did a fairly big site. Yeah, it's a bit silly from the developer's part, because somebody brings you a site and you pay them a fee, you know, they're going to bring you more sites. So you know, it's really counterproductive. I don't understand why people do it, but anyway.